How's it going, dudes? Welcome to the worst board game of all time, Tournament 2. 64 of the most disgusting and detestable games ever to hit store shelves are ready to compete for the chance to etch their names into history. A cavalcade of whack crap itching to get started as they hope to rise to the top and claim their title. Hundreds of games from all over the world have been nominated for this prestigious event, and are currently glued to their screens praying to hear their name be called and have their ticket in punched. The NBGA Selection Committee has been hard at work combing through every suggestion, nomination, and bribe in order to bring this bracket to life, and should be making their final decisions as we speak. So while they finish up, I will give a quick rundown of the proceedings in order to catch everyone up to speed. What we have here is a single elimination bracket tournament, where games will compete in head-to-head matchups to determine which of them is worse. Winners will advance to the next round, with the process continuing until we reach the grievous grand final and crown our champion. For those unaware, the numbers next to each game are called seeds, which rank the games based on how well they are projected to do in the tournament. Since this often causes confusion, for this tournament we will refer to the higher ranked games as high seeds, with games with lower odds being referred to as low seeds. But don't think that the higher seed will always come out on top here, as just like in everything, upsets are bound to happen. You'll definitely want to keep this in mind for later, as what is a bracket tournament without a bracket challenge? After the teams are revealed, you will have the opportunity to fill out your own free bracket to predict the results, with the winning bracket taking home a most fabulous prize to add to their collection. So be sure to think of who your champion will be while viewing the selections. Speaking of which, I am getting word now that the picks are in! The 64 games that will be competing in this year's tournament have been finalized. So let's head over now to the big bracket to see who's in and who's out. Starting us off in the stink region, let's go ahead and meet the number 1 overall seed in the tournament, the video board game Rap Rat. The video board game Rap Rat is the 1992 title that sees players roll a colored die to move around a board collecting cheese puzzle pieces. While they attempt to complete their puzzle, the titular Rap Rat will chime in off of his VHS tape, penalizing players at random in an attempt to stop them from winning the game. The Rap Rat has an immense amount of haters, most of them focusing in on how the rat himself is a complete menace, dishing out horribly unbalanced penalties in addition to making his game one of the few on Earth possessed by an actual demon. But the title does have some defenders on its side, citing that the ease of play makes it a great kids game to just pick up and go, and that the stress caused by the timer and the rat keeps the game at a frantic pace. The rat will first be going up against the number 16 seed, Name 5. Name 5 is the 2009 title that sees players or teams compete to name 5 things in a specific category before they run out of time, in order to move forward towards the center of the board. Those against Name 5 say that the dice-based movement adds an unnecessary luck factor to a knowledge-based game, and that the gameplay will always be the same, just seeing if you can list something very fast. But those that like the title say that it has a unique and challenging gameplay loop for a party game, with the team play function allowing for bigger groups to play while multiple people contribute to the win. Moving to our next matchup, we find the number 8 seed, Lost the Game. Lost the Game is the 2006 title that sees players explore through a mysterious island, where they will then build up their tribe and attempt to take out the other players. Those against Lost the Game are mainly fans of the series, who were not happy to see their tie-in version of the show being turned into a battle royale game. In addition, the game itself is also woefully unbalanced, and the poorly written rules make the game really tough to understand. But those that love the game really enjoy how adventuring through the island is mysterious and dangerous like in the show, and how slowly building up and strengthening your party is pretty satisfying over a period of time. It will be going up against the number 9 seed, James Corden's Carpool Karaoke Game. The Carpool Karaoke Game is the 2019 title that sees players engage in a variety of musical challenges to earn points, all while under the watchful eye of America's favorite actor, James Corden. Those that do not enjoy the title would like to bring up that the game is impossible to play on its own due to the required use of third-party software to play the music. and that its social media rule where sharing a performance online will get you extra points is just really dumb. But the game's fans love how it has a ton of flexibility, even being able to be played in a car like on the show. Plus, the different challenges present in the title make sure that you aren't just doing karaoke the entire time. On to the next matchup, we find our first repeat competitor, the number 5 seed, the Vanilla Ice Electronic Rap Game. The Vanilla Ice Electronic Rap Game is the 1991 title that sees players construct rhymes on the rhyming board to earn points, with the winner being instructed to use the electronic beatbox microphone to rap out the full verse to their friends. Haters of the Iceman would like to mention that this is just an altogether abysmal idea, and in a game with hardly any strategy, decision-making, or general thought, the raps are somehow the worst part. But fans of the Iceman would like to mention that this is just an altogether incredible idea, and that it is literally impossible to not have fun while playing this with friends. The Thrilla of Vanilla will be taking on the number 12 seed by Spielet, the Poop Game. This Swedish title from 2010 sees players select their poop before racing around the board in an attempt to be the first to reach the toilet. Those that go against Beispielet would like to point out that this game is just nasty, and that the players being forced to make pee or fart noises during the game is going to get very old very fast. But those that like this one would like to remind you that fart noises are funny and they won't stop being funny, and that this is a very easy game that could help kids get more comfortable with using the toilet. In our next matchup, we will see the debut of the number 4 seed, Campaigns of the Civil War, Vicksburg and Chancellorsville. COTCW VAC is the 1992 war game that simulates 2 critical battles of the American Civil War, allowing players to resolve these battles through the die and table combo. Detractors of COTCW would like to point to the lethal combo of having the worst rulebook be included with what might be the worst war game. And in addition to its low quality everything, it has such a low complexity level that it is pretty much unsuitable for anyone that's played a war game before. But those that enjoy the game love that its low complexity makes it a great starting point for new wargamers, and that its ability to be played solitaire makes it perfect for whatever pace you need to play at. For it to move on, it will need to overcome the number 13 seed, Tech Support. Tech Support is the 2005 card game that sees players try to maneuver through a tech support line in order to be the first to find someone that can actually help them, with the main shtick of the game being that you can only play cards in your opponent's hands. Those that do not enjoy dealing with tech support remark that all you do is draw a random card from another player's hand and hope you draw the winner. That's really it, while also mentioning that the deck is remarkably small for being a standalone title. But tech support aficionados mention that the game is much deeper than it first appears, due to both hand viewing and hand swapping effects. Plus, it feels really good when you manage to bluff your friends away from taking the card that they needed to win. With the top half of the Stink region revealed, let's bring in our color commentator Joshua Jacobs to see what he thinks about our opening matchups. Yeah, Cam, you already know which one I'm going to focus in on here because it's really the only one that I can look at and say, that right there could be a future champion. The Rat! Surging straight to the top of the field, and I can't think of anyone more deserving of that spot. He has earned it. But I think we were all expecting to see him somewhere around that area. What a lot of us probably weren't expecting was how high the Iceman placed this year. His Sweet 16 performance not only impressed the committee, but the repeat competitive voters as well. And I know that he's going to be looking to put on an even better show this year to show those who voted for him that they made the right choice. Let's move now to the bottom half of the Stink region, which we will approach in reverse order, starting off with the number 15 seed, Outdoor Survival. Outdoor Survival is the 1972 title that sees players attempt to escape from the forest that they have gotten lost in. Players will need to combine their survival knowledge with a little bit of luck in order to make it out alive. The haters of Outdoor Survival mention that the game just continues to get worse and worse as you play, with much of the fault going towards the terrible intro scenario doing a terrible job to teaching the players the ropes, as well as the randomness behind the actions easily being able to put you in an unwinnable situation. However, the fans of this game say that it is still a lot of fun despite this balancing. It has a much deeper core than most people give it credit for, and the trickiness of these situations breed a lot of tension and suspense. Its first matchup will be up against the number 2 seed, Monopoly Cheaters Edition. MCE is the 2018 title that breaks up the standard Monopoly gameplay by encouraging players to cheat in order to give themselves an edge. The game's numerous haters say that the title completely fails at implementing these cheating mechanics into a cheating game, as well as ruining old Monopoly mechanics by changing how they work and ruining some of the new mechanics by how poorly they implemented them. But the game does have some defenders who key in on how awesome the theme is with some great ideas, and how it takes less time than your standard Monopoly due to the change in the win condition. Let's check in on our MCE Cam to see how he feels about his inclusion in this year's tournament. And it looks like he is positively thrilled, even getting himself a celebratory popsicle for the occasion. I can't wait to see what he has in store for us once this thing gets going. Our next matchup will see the number 10 seed, Who's Your Daddy? Who's Your Daddy is the 2001 title that sees players play as both men and women as they try to pin the paternity of their children onto other players in order to collect child support payments. Whoever can last the longest without needing to flee the country to avoid these payments wins. Those against Who's Your Daddy mainly lock on to that absolutely wild theming, and the fact that since this is an elimination game, if you get out early, you will have nothing to do until the rest of the players catch up to your position. But those that enjoy playing mention that it is extremely fun if you can get behind the theme, and that the gameplay rewards the quick thinkers out there and those that can adjust to changing circumstances. It will be matched up against the number 7 seed, Woman and Man, the classic confrontation. Woman and Man is the 1971 title where players will compete to grab status quo points in order to prove their point. The women trying to prove that they are equal to men, while the men are trying to prove that they are better than women. Detractors of the title see that the game being both sexist and boring makes for a lethal combination, with no point really being made by the end, as most of the status quo points rely on luck to gain. However, the game's fans say that the cards could inspire some memorable debates between friends. Up next in the bracket, we find the number 14 seed, Superpower. Superpower is the 1986 title that sees players try to control as much of the third world as possible by the end of the game. Utilize both your military might and your political influence to get what you need to become a global superpower. The biggest complaint against the title is how much it drags at the end due to needing to roll the exact number on the dice in order to get the country you need, which can get pretty annoying, especially since this game has some of the smallest game pieces when compared to the size of the board. But the game does have quite a few fans, mentioning that this is a pretty great implementation of Cold War politics into a board game. It also makes sure to never take itself too seriously, which helps to create a fun atmosphere around the game. It will be facing off against the number 3 seed, Ms. Monopoly. This 2019 title touts itself as the first game where women make more than men, forcing that to happen by changing up some of the mechanics so that female players benefit more than males. The game's many haters like to key in on how the game undermines its own message with the baffling mechanics that it puts forward, and that in addition to that, it also ruined several other key Monopoly features like the housing system for seemingly no reason. However, the game's fans do say that it does a good job highlighting inventions created by women, and that the expedited ending system will take less time to reach, allowing for a more accessible game. And now we move to the final match of the Stink region, which will feature the number 11 seed, Dave Ramsey's Act Your Wage. Act Your Wage is the 2010 title that sees players utilize debt reduction strategies like the debt snowball in order to pay off their bills and get themselves out of their debt hole, all under the watchful eyes of the famed debt destroyer, Dave Ramsey. Those opposed to Big Dave mention that there is little interaction, little replayability, and crucially, not a lot of fun to be had here. Really only holding any value if played in a classroom setting or something along those lines. But those that support the title have likely been helped by it, as it manages to do a pretty great job of teaching people about basic budgeting strategies. It also manages to get players engaged with the fake life that they are leading in the game, which makes it feel really good when you manage to get that person out of debt. And to finish off this region, we have the number 6 seed, the Survivor board game. Survivor is the 2000 title that sees players try to outwit, outplay, and outlast each other to avoid being voted out, just like on the show. But this tie-in is a big point of contention for the haters, as they see the title as unbelievably simple for a game revolving around strategy like Survivor. And alongside that, the game is pretty tough to get started, as it needs to have a massive pool of players in order to function correctly. But fans of the title are likely fans of the show, as they say that it matches the feel of the show really well as that large player count being a great way to get everyone involved in a massive get-together. With the bottom half of the Stink region revealed, let's bring in our cheating specialist, Massacre's Mansion, to see what he thinks about MCE's chances going forward.
Thank you, Cam. As the #1 MCE expert / hater on this earth, I know for a fact it has the potential to go far in this tournament. A lot of the games competing seem to have 2 or 3 key traits that have granted them access to this tournament, but let me tell you, MCE has too many of these traits to count. MCE went on a strict diet of removing beloved Monopoly mechanics from itself just to be here. And the workout routine it has taken on is truly frightening. It has not 1, not 2, but 15 fresh cheat-based mechanics that are, for a lack of a more violent word, broken. And when I say broken, not only do I mean completely overpowered within the gameplay itself, but they're also broken in the sense that they do not function properly at all within the game's written rules. Did that overpriced handcuff prop, which is attached to both the board and your wrist, accidentally cause you to completely flip the game board? Pay the toll, bozo. How many other competitors can say they have at least 15 different uniquely broken mechanics? I'm confident in MCE's ability to ruin the days of not just its players, but its opponents in this tournament as well.
Well said. I'm sure that MCE is going to be quite the tough task for these titles to take down. But we still have 3 more regions to reveal before we can get started, and dozens of games are still waiting with bated breath hoping to hear their name called out next. We meet our next group of games when we reveal the Stank region when we come back.
Now you can celebrate the many game-changing girls in my new game, Ms. Monopoly. Dream big, buy cool inventions, and own it all with new Ms. Monopoly. How will you change the world?
Welcome back. Let's move on over now to the other side of the bracket and take a look at those games competing in the Stank region. Starting us off in the top half, we find the #1 seed, Breaky. Breaky is the 2003 collectible key game where players will buy packs of keys in order to do battle with an opponent, with the intention of permanently breaking that opponent's key in order to claim victory. The haters of Breaky mention that the permadeath mechanic present within the keys makes them become actual literal worthless garbage once they are destroyed, causing it to be the only collectible game designed to destroy all of its collectibles, as well as the only game that will eventually become impossible to play. However, the Breaky fandom loves how this permadeath mechanic brings massive tension to all of the battles, and that the randomness of the key's strength means that even the most common keys can rise up to win. Breaky will be going up against the #16 seed, Shark Attack. Shark Attack is the 1988 game where players play as fish trying to escape from an automated shark coming to eat them by rolling a die in order to move forward. Haters of Shark Attack key in on how there is nearly no gameplay to speak of in this one. All you do is roll the die and hope your color comes up. On top of that, none of the players have any control over their fish at all. It all comes down to whether you or another player can roll your color to move forward. However, the game has a ton of fans from across the ages, mostly due to how hectic, stressful, and definitely fun this game can be. The more dramatic everyone acts about the approaching shark, the more fun is had by all, which is a perfect way to get a high energy environment started quickly. In our next battle, we will be seeing the number 8 seed, WW84 Wonder Woman card game. WW84 is the 2021 card game that sees players compete to see who is the real Wonder Woman, by using action cards to fight off the villains and rescue the innocent civilians. The Wonder Woman haters would like to point out that this game carries very little strategy. You get a card that works, you play it, and then repeat. They would also like to point out that while the art on the box is great, the pictures on the cards are terrible, really taking you out of the Wonder Woman experience. But the Wonder Woman fans love how the game forces players to work together even though they are trying to win it for themselves. And since the point totals on each of the chips you earn are random, the leader of the game is always kept a secret until the very end. To move on, Wonder Woman will have to overcome the number 9 seed, Catch-Mag. Catch-Mag is the 2002 game that sees players utilize magnet technology to remove energy bars from the board to score points, selecting which magnet they want to use by which side they think will attract the magnet in the board. Those against Catch-Mag are most taken aback by how horribly translated the rules are, making it really tough to learn how to play. In addition to that, the special spheres accomplish very little despite how much they are hyped up, resulting in an altogether very boring gameplay loop. However, those for Catch-Mag would like to remind you that magnets are cool and very fun to play with, and that the different magnets that you can choose from can really shake up your decision making in which magnet you think will get the job done. Competing in our next matchup, we have the number 5 seed, The Price is Right. The Price is Right is the 2004 title that sees players compete in various price-based games in order to make their way up to the Showcase Showdown, where they will compete to get as close to the actual retail price without going over. Those against this particular title are really disappointed by the poor selection of Price is Right games that leaves out a lot of fan favorites, and also have a far worse opinion of the abysmal components that both look and feel cheap, including the worst rendition of Plinko ever put to market. But lovers of The Price is Right mention that the games included are ripped straight from the show, allowing you to play them at home. They also enjoy how the game implements all of the rounds seen in the show, allowing you to play all the way from the opening bid to the Showcase Showdown. The Price is Right will be facing off in this round against the number 12 seed, Russian Roulette. Russian Roulette is the 1975 game that sees players play through a card game version of the casino game Roulette, allowing you the opportunity to bet it all to win big with the small chance of catastrophe if you manage to run out of money. Those against Russian Roulette will mention that this is really just regular roulette with cards. You could possibly build this game all on your own, as well as the Russian Roulette portion of the game giving you a 5 out of 6 chance to get all of your money back if you run out of funds, making the game take ages. But the game's fans do like how it is a nice little casino game that you can play with your friends, and how the revolver mechanic can get you right back into the action if the bets don't go the way you want them to. Closing out the top half of the Stank region, we have the number 4 seed, Public Assistance. This 1980s mainstay sees players trying to collect as much money on welfare as possible, by avoiding work, committing crimes, and having illegitimate children to benefit your financial situation. This repeat competitor has made it back in due to its wide berth of haters, who love to bring up the horrid balancing that ruins the gameplay, the horrid theming that ruins the fun, and how unbelievably long it is for a game this dull and broken. But as they all do, this game does have some fans, who see the game as quite funny with how it presents the theming, and with the different tracks making it pretty easy for the leader to drop that lead at any time. PA will be facing off in the opening round against the number 13 seed, Brexit, The Real Deal. Brexit The Real Deal is the 2019 game that sees members of the United Kingdom competing to win trade deals with other countries. Plan, bluff, and second-guess what used to be your allies as you try to complete your hidden agenda. Those that find themselves not in support of Brexit mention that there is little negotiation or bluffing in this negotiation bluffing trick taker, and that the strategy on offer here is very basic in its execution. Meanwhile, the massive wave of people in support of Brexit mention that the structure of the game places players at odds with each other, which will end up causing some pretty funny conflict. With the top half of the Stank region revealed, let's pass it on over to our gambling specialist, Chupo, to learn a little more about Russian roulette.
Hi everybody, I'm being paid to support the 1975 hit game Russian Roulette. Now when it comes to this game, we have a serious case of false advertising. Here we have a game about cards, I guess. Like when you think of the game known for being in a bunch of movies that leave a bunch of people not alive, you would think there would be a lot more correlating with the ever iconic bullet in the chamber game. But instead, we're left with a husk of sadness that fails to be anything of real value, instead being a confusing mess that most people aren't ever gonna bother with. There's faster and more fun alternatives in literally every aspect the game tries to do. I feel lied to. I signed up for the wrong kind of Russian roulette, and with that, I'm proud of this. I hope so. I got about $40 riding on this winning, and I'm going to be very upset if that doesn't happen.
I really hope that comes through for you, as a $40 bet at the current Vegas odds would be about a $6,800 payout. Moving down to the bottom half of the Stank region, let's go ahead and meet the number 15 seed, Pokemon Master Trainer. Pokemon Master Trainer is the 1999 game that sees players go on a Pokemon adventure with their friends, traveling around the Kanto region and strengthening their team in order to defeat a member of the Elite Four. Those that do not enjoy Master Trainer claim that the game's difficulty level is borderline cruel, with the endgame enemies being nearly impossible to beat with even the best teams, and the power-ups that your friends can use making the game pretty much unwinnable. However, fans of the title say that this is a fantastic experience that really encapsulates a Pokemon adventure, with every single one of the original 151 being available to catch in the game, and a surprising amount of depth and strategy being present within the mechanics. The Master Trainer will be entering a duel against the number 2 seed, the Rock, Paper, Scissors game. The Rock, Paper, Scissors game is the 2005 tragedy that was the runner-up in last year's tournament. In it, players will use the RPS console to make their selection, then reveal their choice to see who wins that game of Rock, Paper, Scissors. Haters of RPS are plentiful, stating that the game is quite literally pointless in every sense of the word. All you are doing here is paying money to play rock, paper, scissors, with not a single change, improvement, or situation where this would be a better experience than the original. But the game's lovers say that the console does look cool and is well designed, and the more professional presentation of the console could work well in a tournament setting. Our next matchup in this region will feature the number 10 seed, Coaster Park. Coaster Park is the 2017 title that sees players design and build their roller coasters, before rolling a marble along the track to see how well it performs to score points. Detractors of the title say that the tracks barely work together, so your marble never really has the chance to go far. On top of that, the auction mechanic is very strangely designed, and the use of cardboard pieces means that wear and tear is going to hit this game hard. But the game does have its fair share of fans, who are mostly drawn in by the fact that rolling these marbles down the hills is a lot of fun, and that the trial and error structure of the game makes it really rewarding to get your coaster just right. Coaster Park will be going up against the number 7 seed, Strip-Tac-Toe. Strip-Tac-Toe is the 1969 Diplomat title that sees players engage in various rounds of tic-tac-toe, but with a little extra freaky twist. The haters of this one say that this game falls victim to all of the standard tic-tac-toe issues, and that only one early win is really needed, and then you can just coast off of ties for an easy dub. But the game's fans say that it achieves what it sets out to do fairly easily, even accommodating team play with up to 16 players being able to play at once. On to our next matchup, we'll find the number 14 seed, Book of Mormon Quest. Book of Mormon Quest is the 1995 title that sees players move around the board in an attempt to prove that they know the most about the Book of Mormon. Those against this Mormon quest have quite a few complaints, saying that there is unnecessary luck added to a Mormon trivia game, it is practically unplayable for non-Mormon players, and that a D12 movement die on a board with only 24 spaces is quite the strange choice. However, fans of the title say that this is a great tool that can help you learn more about the Mormon faith, and that its simple loop really rewards the more knowledgeable players with better boosts. The Mormons will be taking on the number 3 seed, Bottle Flip, the board game. Bottle Flip the board game is the 2016 title that sees players attempting various bottle flipping challenges while trying to land on the target to score points. The game's many detractors say that this title really was just meant to capitalize on a trend before it died off, and it since has, with them really failing to connect with the one thing that you'll be doing the entire game. But the bottle flip faithful say that the assortment of challenges really changes how tricky it will be to land your flips, and that this is one of the few games that is entirely dependent on your skill, not luck. And moving us into the final matchup of the Stank region, we have the number 11 seed, Right or Racist. Right or Racist is the 2017 title that presents players with a variety of different stereotypes, tasking players with determining whether or not those stereotypes are backed up with legitimate statistics. Haters of Right or Racist mention that if there is any game that is likely going to end up with people getting into fights, it's this one, harping on how this is a terrible theme to implement into a party game and how the debate cards just throw the statistic angle out the window and have you get into a fight yourself. However, the game's fans say that the fact that it utilizes statistics makes the game a lot less of a he said, she said situation, and that it can spark conversations around touchy subjects and give a more engaging way to learn if you're willing to keep an open mind. It will be going up against the final game in this region, the number 6 seed, Mousetrap, Easier Setup. Mousetrap Easier Setup is the 2021 title that takes the complex trap building action of the standard game and makes it all take place prior to the start, allowing you to focus more on rolling the dice and trapping your opponent right from the get-go. The game's haters say that the fact that the trap is assembled before you start removes most of the appeal of the original title, and that somehow, despite the easier setup, the trap works even less frequently than in the original. However, the game's fans say that they love how the game's quick setup allows you to get right into that mouse trapping action, and that the quick gameplay loop means that you can run multiple games one after another for more quick action. Let's check in on the Mousetrap cam to see his reaction to securing his spot for this year. And as expected, he is positively thrilled. I mean, look at that, he can hardly contain himself. With the bottom half of the Stank region revealed, let's bring Josh back in to see what he thinks of some of these initial matchups. Yeah, Cam, if there is one thing that I am excited to see from this part of the bracket, it is the fact that the rock, paper, scissors game is back in action. Absolutely stellar performance from him last year, falling just short of managing to get that title for himself. But he's ready to jump back in here and really show the people why he was last year's runner-up. In fact, if we're talking about storylines from last year, take a look at Strip-Tac-Toe just one matchup higher, a representative from the Diplomat Sales Co., the same company that beat RPS in the final last year. I would not be opposed with seeing RPS to get a chance at revenge at last year's loss, so keep an eye out for that one if Strip-Tac-Toe can manage to move on. Also in this region, I want to take a look at the 3 vs 14 matchup, Bottle Flip vs the Mormons. These two carry two of the most striking titles out of the whole field, and if there's one thing that I know from last year is that a striking title gives you a really good shot in the community voting. So I might want to keep my eyes on this one in case the Mormons decide to pull off an unprecedented upset in the first round. With the Stink and Stank regions revealed, we have now met half of the games that will be competing in this year's tournament. But with 32 slots still remaining, dozens of games are still watching on, hoping to hear their name called for their ticket in. We'll continue to meet the games by revealing the 16 competing in the Stunk region when we come back.
Monopoly Cheaters Edition. Before, you weren't allowed to cheat at Monopoly, but now you can. It's not just okay to cheat in this game, it's part of the fun. But get caught, and you're cuffed. What will you get away with in Monopoly Cheaters Edition from Hasbro Gaming?
Welcome back. We're ready now to take on the bottom half of the bracket, so let's go ahead and start off with the Stunk region. Our first team that will be competing here will of course be the number 1 seed, Bumps and Grinds. Bumps and Grinds is the 1967 title that sees players compete by candlelight, moving around the board and trying to be the one lucky enough to lose all of their clothing first. The haters of Bumps and Grinds have a lot of unique complaints. There's how the game entirely relies on luck, nothing that you do can really help your odds. There's how some of the power-up cards actively hurt your chances of winning the game. And then there's the main one where the low light, unsupported candle and highly flammable board give you a very real chance of burning your house down. But the game is not without its fans, saying that the game accomplishes its mission of getting players undressed in a timely fashion, and that the winner being the first player to lose all of their clothes is a cool change of pace for these types of games. Bumps and Grinds will be facing off in the opening round against the number 16 seed, the Beyblade Trading Card Game. The Beyblade TCG is the 2003 card game based around the popular series of Battle Tops. Enjoy all of the action of letting it rip through your cards while you try to be the last top spinning in the battle. Those that do not like the Beyblade TCG would like to ask why the heck you would play a Beyblade game with cards. As expectedly, this type of gameplay slows down the quick-paced action of the series dramatically. On top of the fact that it being a collectible card game means that you might not get the cards that you want to play with at any point in time. But fans of the TCG love the amount of depth that this game adds to the series, as it even comes equipped with 2 different levels of play depending on your experience. The CCG format also allows you to customize your deck however you want, with the quality of one's deck being based more on the skill of that player's deck building than anything. On to our next matchup, we find another returning competitor, with the number 8 seed, WWB. WWB, or World's Worst Board Game, is the 2011 title specifically designed to be the worst possible experience one could have while playing a board game. Players are tasked with numbering the cards from 1 to 100 themselves and then rolling one die over and over again until they themselves die, which is statistically more likely to happen than you actually finishing the game. WWB's haters really harp on the fact that this is the most miserable board gaming experience you could possibly imagine, with every mechanic being specifically designed to cause maximum torment and it being realistically impossible to finish in a single human lifespan. However, the game does have its defenders, saying that the game set out to be awful and managed to be just that with flying colors. On top of that, it is a good way to lock a friend into a horrible experience if you're looking to dish out some eternal torment. WWB will be going up against the number 9 seed, Rebs and Yanks. Rebs and Yanks is the 1995 card game that sees players take control of several battles during the American Civil War. Utilize your strategy, the cards, and the dice to see if you can bring back victory to your side. Detractors of Rebs and Yanks harp on the fact that this is a very simple trick-taking game with just a Civil War theme attached, with particular ire being drawn to how the different soldier cards make a very small impact on the dice combat, and how the game requires 2 dice to play but does not include them. However, fans of the game love how this is an easy game to pick up and play, with different rules being available for more advanced play options, and special settings being included to allow you to reenact the more famous Civil War battles. On to our next battle, we find the number 5 seed, What Shall I Be? The Exciting Game of Career Girls. What Shall I Be? The Exciting Game of Career Girls is the 1966 title that sees players move around the board attempting to become a career girl. Players can attempt to become many of the jobs featured at the upper echelon of female employment, like nurse, ballet dancer, or airline hostess. Those that do not support the career girls key in on how it is unabashedly sexist when compared to the boys' version, and how it is not even fun to play on top of that. However, fans of the game say that it is very funny to play in the current day, and that there are many different paths that you can take towards achieving your dream career. The career girls will be going up against the number 12 seed, Monogamy. Monogamy is the 2001 title meant for committed couples, as the 2 players will engage in various steamy actions in order to get to know each other better. Those that do not appreciate the title mention that it is very slow, it is extremely unlikely that you will manage to finish the game, and that there's an awful lot of eating involved with the proceedings. However, those that support Monogamy are numerous, mentioning that it achieves its target objective well. The fact that it's a 2-player game means that you'll only be playing with someone you trust, and that it's very likely that you will finish playing. To round out this half of the region, we meet the number 4 seed, Rat Splatter. Rat Splatter is the 2001 card game that sees players breeding rats in order to smash them with anvils later in order to score points. Those against the game Rat Splatter would like to ask, what? Rat huh? In addition to that, the game carries no strategy, as you can just repeat one combo to win every time, and since it has the gameplay loop of a kid's game, why is it a game about splatting rats? However, fans of Rat Splatter really love the unique theme that makes the title stand out from others. And if you're a fan of splatting rats, there's really no game out there that's better keyed for you than this one. Rat Splatter will be competing in round 1 against the number 13 seed, the $1 million Chance of a Lifetime game. The $1 million Chance of a Lifetime game is the 1986 title based on the game show of the same name, with players attempting to find the letters while avoiding the stinger in order to solve the puzzle and earn the chance of a lifetime. Those not in support of this very long title mention that this is really just a game of hangman with clue words, with only 16 total games being possible with what's included and the bonus round from the show being completely absent from the project. However, fans of the title say that this one manages to transfer the show's gameplay and components over pretty well, with the race to be the first to solve the puzzle adding tension and the stinger really tripping people up as the game continues. With the top half of the Stunk region revealed, let's send it over to our data specialist, Beer Money Engine, to learn a little bit more about what WWB has on offer.
Hey everyone, Pharaoh Silver here. I hear that people here cannot stand long games. Well, boy, do I have a long game for you. The average calculated estimated time I found it would take to play a single game of WWB is not 1 year, not 10 years, but 1.297 times 10 to the 73 years, non-stop. And what would it take to finish this game, you may ask? You would need to roll a second 5 101 times in a row. You would have better odds winning the Powerball lottery 9 consecutive times. There isn't a single game in this tournament that will even come close to the level of monotony that you will get from this. This isn't a game. This is an endurance test against the heat death of the universe. And I do not see other opponents in this tournament enduring the otherworldly monotony that this game is going to bring to its matches.
You heard him, folks. If you're looking to finish this one up in the next couple of eons, then you'd better get started. But first, let's mosey on down to the bottom half of the Stunk region and meet the number 15 seed, Gone Birding. Gone Birding is the 1990 VHS title that tasks players with identifying the birds shown on screen to earn points. Featuring a 2-hour-long VHS tape of real-world bird footage, this title will test your avian knowledge like no other game on the market. Those that stand against Gone Birding are really excited to work through the 2 hours of bird-watching footage on their VHS tape, coming with all of the usual VHS board game issues in addition to the avian terminology continuing to get more and more out of date every year. However, the game's fans say that this is a great way for bird lovers to refresh or test their knowledge, and that the multiple different skill levels allow you to switch up the game depending on your player's experience with birds. Gone Birding will be going up against the number 2 seed, Joel Harden's Mogul. Joel Harden's Mogul is the 2008 title that puts players through a realistic depiction of real estate management, forcing you to work through the scouting, purchasing, and paperwork associated with that position. Those that do not enjoy the Mogul compare it to if a Veilfisk project was published as a serious title, citing the unbelievable mechanics that are just as or more complicated than their real-life real estate counterparts. However, those that enjoy the title latch on to how it is the most advanced property management game on the market, and that the process of constructing, purchasing, and managing your real estate empire can end up enjoyable by the end. Featured in our next matchup, we find the number 10 seed, the Crazy Cat Lady game. The Crazy Cat Lady game is the 2008 title that sees players move around the board trying to collect as many cats as possible, hoping to be the first to return home with their new swarm of cute kittens. Those opposed to those crazy cat ladies hate that you have no interaction with the game other than spinning the spinner, with some of the space effects being pretty confusing with how they operate and the luck-based win condition possibly forcing the game to drag on for quite a while. However, the lovers of this one say that this is a really fun theme for cat lovers, and that the simplicity of the gameplay can really help kids get accustomed to counting if they're at that age. These crazy cat ladies will have their work cut out for them when they go up against the number 7 seed, Minute to Win It. Minute to Win It is the 2011 title that sees players compete in a variety of dexterity-based challenges utilizing household items. Players will need to complete their challenge before the minute timer runs out in order to avoid elimination. Haters of Minute to Win It say that this one is borderline pointless to what it offers its players, as all of the components can be found for less at any Dollar Tree, and all of the game's challenges and more are available online for free. But fans of the game say that this is a quick and easy way to play some Minute to Win It games, and that it could make a pretty good gift to get for fans of the series. Moving now to the next matchup, we find the number 14 seed, Katalaika. Katalaika is the 2014 Kickstarter project that shows players what it would feel like to live as a member of the stellar consciousness of a galaxy. Master planetary engineering and befriend multidimensional predators as you try to build a culture rich enough to become a member of the elite. The haters of this particular title have a number of complaints, saying that the rules are close to incomprehensible, the player elimination is decided by the player being eliminated, and that the whole Kickstarter campaign was an unmitigated disaster. However, the fans of Katalaika have an equal number of points supporting it, saying that the game as a whole is simply beautiful, the unique gameplay and interconnecting mechanics in this one are not seen anywhere else, and that the whole Kickstarter campaign was in fact very funny. Katalaika will be facing off against the number 3 seed, the Campaign for North Africa, the Desert War, 1940-43. TCFNA TDW 40-43 is the 1979 war game that sees players work through the North African campaign of World War II. The title being regarded as the most complex war game ever designed, partially due to how it can take up to 20 years to complete one game. Haters of the Campaign for North Africa, the Desert War, 1940-43, love to key in on how the game has never been finished even a single time, and that even if you enjoy the theme, it has a genuinely malicious design that holds a borderline contempt for its players. But the game's supporters say that this is a fantastic artistic item that helps players learn more about the real campaign, and that the level of historical accuracy present in the title is unmatched anywhere else in the space. For the final matchup in the Stunk region, we find the number 11 seed, Gone with the Wind, the game. Gone with the Wind, the game is the 1993 title that offers players 8 separate board, card, and trivia games within the box, all based around the 1939 smash hit film, Gone with the Wind. Those against the title did not enjoy how there was 8 bad games all wrapped into one convenient package, and also didn't like how the game's cards are so poorly designed that they are not usable outside of the title like advertised. However, the fans of this one say that the game brings a lot of bang for your buck in the cost to game ratio, and that each game included with the title is completely unique, featuring different mechanics. No repeats here. Gone with the Wind will be competing for its spot against the number 6 seed, Mr. Bacon's Big Adventure. Mr. Bacon's Big Adventure is the 2009 title that sees players go on a mad dash through Meatland, spinning the spinner to move along the meat spaces in order to be the first to reach the frying pan. Those that hate Mr. Bacon also hate his brain-dead spinner movement mechanic, especially with how it can take longer than its brain-dead spinner counterparts due to the various start-over mechanics present in the title. In addition to that, the Meat Feast alternate game mode is a genuine danger to your physical well-being, due to how the game forces you to eat various types of meat for every space that you land on. However, the game's fans love how the cards shake up the gameplay and add new tactics, how there is more player agency as other players can end up sabotaging you, and how the Meat Feast is just completely ridiculous and totally awesome. Let's check in with the Mr. Bacon Crispy Cam to see his reaction to the wonderful news. That's about what I was expecting, sitting down to enjoy a nice can of nondescript advertiser-friendly beverage. Delectable. With the bottom half of the Stunk region revealed, let's bring Josh back in to see what he thinks about our opening matchups. Yeah, Cam, and you know I gotta be excited for the return of one of the best competitors to ever hit the bracket, the Campaign for North Africa, the Desert War, 1940-43. I think it's got another great run in store for us this year, and I cannot wait to see it get out there and get started once this tourney gets going. But in terms of the matchups that we got going on here, I want to take a look at the matchup one step higher at the 6 versus 11, Mr. Bacon versus Gone with the Wind. Now, Mr. Bacon is going to be a tough competitor to beat due to the experience he got from last year's tournament, but you can't write out Gone with the Wind yet because it has a lot going for it too. How many games have you seen in this tournament that have 8 bad games all wrapped into one box? I know Mr. Bacon has a lot of hype behind it and is quite heavily favored in this matchup, but if it goes into this matchup not carrying its A game and underestimating its opponent, we might be seeing one of the fan favorite competitors leaving early on a brutal upset. So you might want to keep an eye out on this matchup for the future. Well said, Josh, and we have now revealed 48 of the games that will be competing in this year's tournament. And with only 16 slots remaining, any game whose name has yet to be called is now holding their breath, hoping that they will be one of the few to take those remaining spots. We uncover who's in and who's out as we reveal the games competing in the Stonk region when we come back.
Y'all ready?
He's in a shopping center now, showing you how. Having fun is the aim. Hey, Rap Rat's the name, the video board game.
Rap!
For kids who just want to have fun, so turn on your set, slide in the cassette and play.
Rap!
It's VHS, it's A-OK, it's kids' entertainment that's here to stay, the video board game.
Rap!
So get mellow, get yellow, get the video board game, Rap Rat. He ain't no ghost, he's the most. The video board game, Rap Rat.
Welcome back! It's time to meet the final 16 games that will be competing in this year's tournament as we move down to the Stonk region. Starting off in the top half, we meet the final number 1 seed, the Lord of the Rings Board Game Trilogy. The Lord of the Rings Board Game Trilogy is the 3-game set from the 2000s that sees players lead the Fellowship on their adventure through Middle-earth. These games each follow the events of their respective movies beat for beat, and can be combined together into one board to form one complete adventure. Haters of this trilogy do not like that, since each game follows the events of their movie exactly, every game will play out exactly the same, leaving players with titles that they can play a total of 1 time before they see everything that the game has to offer. Fans of the trilogy do enjoy how the games manage to convey the story of the trilogy very well though, and also appreciate how the beautiful components and the fantastic boards manage to help you get invested into the setting. These 3 titles will be facing off against just one in the number 16 seed, Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom game. The Walt Disney World Magic Kingdom game is the 1972 title that sees players adventure around a 3D board version of the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. Players receive their tickets for the attractions that they would like to go on, and the first player to use all of their tickets wins. Haters of WDW MKG do not enjoy how much of a pain the board is to set up due to the 3D aspects, and also find that traveling around the park itself is very dull due to the little choice you have in your moves. However, lovers of the game really enjoy how it allows you to visit your favorite Disneyland locales from home, and also enjoy the board's beautiful 3D design and moving parts like the monorail. Our next matchup in the region will feature the number 8 seed, Hasbro's Payday. Hasbro's Payday is the 2000s remake of the original 1974 budgeting game, where players must figure out how to deal with the various bills and expenses that they will accrue over several months in an attempt to end the game with the most money. Haters of this version of the classic mention that the game's balance has been completely ruined due to the decision to increase the income amounts while keeping the cost the same, meaning that players will be drowning in cash quickly, which removes the tension that made the original so intriguing. However, fans of the title say that it still carries the key Payday aspects that made it a classic, and that the game being more lax on the financial strain it puts on players allows them to take more risks during the game. This title will be going up against the number 9 seed, Kong Skull Island game. This 2005 tie-in with the movie of the same name sees players move around the 3D game board, first trying to find Kong and then trying to save him during his rampage in New York. Those opposed to the Kong Skull Island game really don't have a lot to hate on, with the game practically playing itself due to the spinner-only movement, and the fact that the entire first half of the game becomes meaningless because everyone goes to New York at the same time. However, fans of the game say that if looks could kill, this game would be fatal, as the fully assembled 3D board does end up looking really cool, and that the high-quality Kong figure included with the title for sure being the star of the show. Heading now to the next matchup, we find another repeat competitor, with the number 5 seed, Candyland. Candyland is the 1949 title that sees players go on an adventure through some sort of candied land. drawing cards and moving along the board based on the cards they drew in order to try to reach the end first. Hating on Candyland has practically become a national pastime, as since the game is just draw a card until the game ends, the winner is always going to be chosen right at the start of the game, with the only way this changes being if you run out of cards and must shuffle them back together. However, fans of Candyland have been so for quite some time, stating that the game operates as one of the best possible introductions for youngins to the concept of games, and that since the game is pretty low commitment, it can easily be played while managing to do other things. Let's check in with the Classic Games watch party to see how they feel about Candyland's inclusion. And they are as happy as can be. I gotta say, these classic games continue to be a paragon of sportsmanship as they support their friends in their brightest moments. Candyland will be facing off against the number 12 seed, Target, the Game of Life. The Game of Life Target Edition is the 2023 title that sees players move around the board by spinning the iconic spinner, attempting to be the first one to fill out their shopping list and check out with the most money. Those that do not enjoy this Target title say that it is a horrible rendition of the Game of Life. Featuring confusing rules and a baffling theme integration, it is an unreasonably boring experience throughout the entire ordeal. But Target lovers everywhere like how this is an interesting new take on the Game of Life gameplay, and enjoy how there is more player choice and strategic options than in the original. Let's go from one watch party to the other as we see how the Game of Lives are taking this new information. Very well, I'd say. It's good to see that the original has taken on that coaching role for the new generation to ensure that the legacy continues. And in our final matchup in the top half, we find the number 4 seed, What Do You Meme? What Do You Meme is the 2016 title that sees players compete to make the funniest memes out of the group, doing so by pairing their hilarious caption with their hilarious image in order to craft a hilarious meme. What Do You Meme's haters like to describe this as a game about memes for people who have never seen memes, considering the title genuinely unfunny in every single regard. However, those that like this bad boy say that it can be genuinely fun with people unfamiliar to the meme space, and that the wide variety of editions available can really help you tailor your jokes to a specific group that you'll be hanging out with. What Do You Meme will be competing against the number 13 seed, Dad Joke Face-Off. Dad Joke Face-Off is the 2019 title that sees players sit right across from each other as they take turns telling each other jokes. Read your selected joke off to your opponent, and if they can't stop themselves from laughing, you get a point. Haters of Dad Joke Face-Off say that an entire game based around jokes meant to get old is going to get old. Shocker. On top of that, the less fun you are having, the better you perform in the game, which creates a really weird scenario where the game is practically begging you to be bored. However, those that enjoy the face-off say that the included jokes definitely live up to the title, and the fact that this can be played either 1v1 or with a wider crowd, giving you a lot of options in regards to how you want to play the game. With the top half of the Stonk region revealed, let's bring Josh back in to see what he thinks about our initial matchups. Yeah, Cam, I am currently looking at one of the games that I have been waiting to see throughout the entire show. The Meme Machine is back. An unbelievable run from this one last year, taking out competitor after competitor after competitor, all of them being heavy hitters. I am really excited to see what it has in store for us this year, but in order for it to make another deep run, it's gonna have to get past its first round matchup of the Dad Joke Face-Off. A really tricky title that I think was seated a little too low for all the garbage that it has inside of it. A really tough matchup for the Meme Machine round 1, but since it's had nothing but tough matchups before, I think it'll manage to pull this one out just fine. On top of that, the matchup right above it does have a little bit of upset potential. Candyland did make it pretty far into last year's tournament, but when compared to the other competitors, it had a pretty weak schedule all things considered. It might be going into this one expecting more of the same easy competition, so if there's any time for Target the Game of Life to pull off a major upset, it would be right here, right now. It better play up to its potential because honestly, I can see it having a shot here. And with that, we'll move to the bottom half of the Stonk region to meet the final group of games in the tournament. Starting off with the number 15 seed, Big Nate's Detention Dash. Big Nate's Detention Dash is the 2012 title that sees players take the roles of Big Nate and his friends, as they try to maneuver their way around the school collecting their report cards and avoiding detention. Haters of Big Nate say that this one doesn't really have a lot to it since the winner will always come down to whoever rolls the best overall. And on top of that, the physical challenges given out by Coach John are inevitably going to upset some of the less athletic players in your group. But those in support of the game say that it absolutely nails the feel of the Big Nate comics, and that the cards add a little bit of strategy to what plays you are going to make during your game. Big Nate will be going up against the number 2 seed, the 24 DVD board game. The 24 DVD board game is the 2006 title that sees players assist Special Agent Jack Bauer as he tries to stop a terrorist threat. The game utilizes its DVD add-on to put players through games and challenges, and tasks players with analyzing the vital and potentially misleading clues in their quest to thwart terrorism. The opposition to 24 carries a laundry list of complaints, citing that the board included with the game serves no purpose in the standard game, the cards and hidden roles for each player are very poorly implemented, and that forcing players to complete reaction-based challenges on a standard DVD remote makes the game impossible to complete. However, the 24 sympathizers say that the addition of hidden roles into a DVD game is quite innovative, and the fact that Kiefer Sutherland reprises his role as Jack Bauer is a really cool touch for fans. Inside of our next matchup, we find the number 10 seed, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus is the 1998 title that sees players answering multiple choice questions that deal with provocative and sometimes sensitive topics, with points being awarded to the other players if they can correctly guess which answer that player will choose. Those opposed to this title are adamant that the questions are far too personal for just a light get-together, and also mention that this title might end up starting fights if these personal questions go poorly enough. But fans of this title say that this is a pretty funny concept that pits the sexes against each other, and it can even help you get to know your friends a little better after running a few rounds. The men and women from various planets will attempt to fight for their spots against the number 7 seed, the Dr. Laura game. The Dr. Laura game is the 1977 title based off of the radio talk show of, guess who, Dr. Laura, with players engaging in challenges like trying to give advice to the radio callers that are calling in, or attempting to guess what kind of response Dr. Laura gave to that question. The Dr. Laura Hater Nation say that the game is so tough to play because Dr. Laura's answers are so sporadic that they're almost impossible to mimic. And in addition to that, almost none of the advice that you get from her is anywhere near helpful for these situations. However, the Dr. Laura faithful say that this game is unbelievably fun due to the massive cheese factor, and that the zaniness of the questions and answers always leaves you guessing as to what's going to happen next. In our next matchup, we find the number 14 seed, the 39 Clues, Search for the Keys. 39 Clues, Search for the Keys is the 2009 tie-in to the popular book series that sees players move around the world gathering keys by solving geographic trivia clues. Whichever player can solve the clues and collect the keys first wins. Haters of these 39 clues say that the rules are very poorly explained and have multiple ruling gaps, compounded by the fact that the NBGA received a 28-minute-long video detailing how poorly the mechanics worked alongside each other. However, the lovers of this one say that the clues can be fun for kids to unravel one after another, and that the game comes with some legitimately great components like the metal plane playing pieces. The 39 Clues will be facing off against another tie-in titan with the number 3 seed, Subway Surfers, the board game. Subway Surfers, the board game is the 2023 title that brings the popular app off of your phone and onto the table, tasking players with collecting the most amount of coins possible while avoiding the obstacles on the track. The Subway Surfers haters say that this one really fails at carrying over that fast-paced Subway Surfers gameplay, and that most of your plays are going to come down if you're going to be lucky enough to draw the right card at the right time. However, the savvy surfers out there really enjoy how this one has an interesting gameplay loop for a card game, and also enjoy how the wide range of power-ups changes up how you play each game. And in the final matchup of this round, we have the number 11 seed, SimCity, the card game. SimCity the card game is the 1994 CCG that sees players attempt to build the best possible city out of their collective deck, doing so while needing to think ahead about the zoning laws that will hamper your building options. Those that do not enjoy living in this Sim City mention that the game is very boring on both a gameplay and a conceptual level, and that making a collectible card game where everybody plays from the same deck is quite the strange idea. However, current residents of the SimCity love how the wide variety of cards allows for many different approaches and playstyles in each game, and that seeing your city slowly be built up and constructed is very fun over the long term. It will be going up against the final game in the bracket, the number 6 seed, 15 Love. 15 Love is the 1974 tennis title that sees players use dice in order to serve, hit, and return the ball to the other side, utilizing their wits and their rolls to work their way through an entire tennis match. Haters of 15 Love say that this game might be the worst possible adaptation of tennis, as it not only markets itself as all strategy while only being luck, but it also makes players sit through an entire full-length tennis match while doing nothing but rolling dice. But the 15 Love faithful are adamant that there is some strategy behind how you move your player for better return odds, and latch on to how it is one of the few games out there that allow you to have that full tennis experience. And with that, we now know all 64 games that will be competing in the worst board game of all time, Tournament 2. But now that we know who's in, let's take a look at the games on the bubble that just barely ended up missing the mark with our near misses. One title that some fans would have definitely liked to see make it in was likely Monopoly for Millennials. Seeing as it is another abysmal Monopoly title, it likely would have had some steam behind it, but failed to showcase why it should make it in over the other members of the Monopoly Conference, eventually causing it to be edged out of the running by the end. Two other omissions that likely come as an even bigger surprise are the queasy quarterfinal finisher Capital Punishment and rising newcomer Trump the Game. These two games were both originally heavily requested due to their theming, but once investigated further, it was determined that both titles actually contained pretty solid gameplay experiences within, which dealt a devastating blow to their chances, highlighted by the fact that Capital Punishment could have made it back in with enough repeat competitor votes, but failed to get as much as even WWB a second round exit from last year. Speaking of repeat competitors, two more memorable competitors from last year, Oy Vey and One-Upmanship, will also not be returning, with the secondary investigation of Oy Vey revealing that it had been hiding some pretty solid gameplay during its original run, and One-Upmanship's surprise errata removing many of the awful aspects that led it to earning that number 1 seed. Again, both of these titles were up to be voted back in, but each failed to secure the community votes to make that happen, so they will unfortunately be watching from the sidelines this time around. And per our yearly disclaimer, we must again say that tabletop RPGs like Fatal and Racial Holy War are disqualified from tournament participation, as they inhabit their own genre that is separate from what the NBGA deems to be a part of the board game classification. Also, whichever one of you sent in the nomination for the card game Little Troubles, absolutely not! The poor intern that we had review that nonsense is now bleeding our finances due to his therapy bills, so going forward, any and all fetish games are hereby banned from competition. You people make me sick. But enough about games that I'll have to cover later, as now it is time for us to get started. At the conclusion of the video, a link will appear in the description to allow you to fill out your brackets, which will remain active through this time period. Once the final date has passed, no more brackets will be accepted, as that next day the tournament will officially begin. Each day will see one region's matchups posted to the community tab of this channel, and it will be up to you to vote for which game in each matchup you think is worse. Once the votes have been tallied and the winners decided, an update video will be posted to showcase the new matchups before the next round begins, repeating this process all the way until we crown the new champion, who will then earn the one-time shot at dethroning our reigning champion Adultery for the title of Worst of the Worst. One thing that we learned from last year's events is that due to the high volume of polls being run, anyone that visits their subscriber tab will see these polls displayed front and center. A great way to easily reach the polls whenever they come up, but also quite the detriment if you actually want to use that tab for anything else. Therefore, if you are someone that likes to use their subscriber tab for viewing other content, we highly recommend that you unsubscribe for the duration of this tournament, as that seemed to be the only way to free that tab from my grasp. But with the disclaimer out of the way, we can now finally reveal the grand prize offered to the winner of the Bracket Challenge. The more accurate your bracket predictions are, the more points you will score. And the person whose bracket scores the most points will win the grand prize, this vintage copy of the 1969 classic, Group Therapy. This is the exact copy of Group Therapy that I used in the Is It Really a Game video. And despite having some damage on the box cover, this bad boy remains the most valuable game in my collection, with complete versions like this one going for anywhere from $100 to $250 if you'd like to have it for yourself. I will also include a signed congratulatory letter to let people know that this copy was earned, not bought. So make sure that you fill out those brackets to take home a piece of vintage board gaming history for yourself. Each person only gets one bracket, so you'd better make it count, and have your friends fill out their own to better your odds of having all y'all's issues solved with a little group therapy. And with that, it is now time to let the games rest and get ready for the big event. Signing off for the NBGA, I am KamSandwich. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic day.